It's good to be back.
We've been back. We actually
Back
went
for a second time.
We went for about 5 minutes without hitting
But
that
hey, at least
record
we
button.
caught it a little quicker this time. And just catch everybody up here if you're as we're restarting. Tiger Woods saying he's not going to be tour ready for a while. Long way to go. Is it worth coming back to the regular tour? I say not. I say get your body ready, get your mind ready. He's going to play a ton of golf anyway. Like, he lives on a golf course. Like, he's got golf. Like, he's going to do golf.
Yeah. But
and
I don't like, and I think it's the competitive aspect, right? Like, we all knew Jordan shouldn't have came out of retirement a second time to play basketball.
Yeah.
Right. And then he plays 82 games. He had a 40 burger one night. He averaged 2 points a game. Like, so I think that it's just that competitive nature, right, that just drives guys like this to want to play, and they can't help it. Like, they literally cannot help it. So I think that's just one of those things where you just have to accept the fact of who they are, and they do what they do, and they are as great as they are because of that competitive mindset. So I think you got to give them that. But I think it's better that we hear from somebody that, you know, probably knows golf better than me and you combined. Definitely, if you took our skills of playing golf and combined them to try and make a better player, we would not be able to beat this man. So Ryan, can you hear us? Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We got you, my man. So Ryan, appreciate you calling in, my man. Happy to have you on here with us. And outside of you being an Eagles fan, I've been a big fan of you since I met you. So but with that, I mean, I know you messaged on the post about, you know, Tiger shouldn't retire. So give us some insight, man. What do you think?
Fuck the Eagles.
Go Birds. I mean, retired. He's practically retired now, but he only plays the majors in one other tournament. So he practically is retired. But every time he tees it up, there's a chance that he can win. I don't care if it's at Augusta, St. Andrews. There's still that, like you said earlier in the podcast, that magical weekend. But the question is that, can that body hold up?
Yep.
The answer so far is no. So, but retiring, no. He could have a golf cart right now if he wanted to, but his ego won't let him.
Well, yeah, he's not John Daly. Like, him and John Daly are two worlds apart when it comes to golf, and like he's not gonna do that. Like, he respects it too much to do that, I think, and that, I agree with you 100% that that's just not Tiger's style.
If Tiger Woods took a golf cart at Augusta National, he wins 3 out of 10 times.
Which is really good percentages in golf. Let's be serious.
I mean, the guy's won 6 times, or what, 5 times there. So I mean, that's just my opinion. Everyone talks about should he retire. I have a lot of friends that give me a lot of crap about him. The answer to your question is no. He should not retire because he still draws so many people to the sport. Every time he tees it up, look at the crowds behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's a must watch. But now, did you agree with my second part though? Because I didn't think he should necessarily fully retire, but I think he should get his body ready and go to the senior tour. Why not? He could take his brand and he can make a lot of money on the senior tour. Still, between playing golf with endorsements, everything else, and adapt to playing in the senior tour, he could win a lot there too. I don't know. I see him as that maybe being a good transition, because again, if he's a long way off, what is that, 2 years, 3 years from being tour ready? By then, I mean, I got to be honest, I don't exactly know how old Tiger Woods is now, but isn't to play on the senior tour 55?
I think it might even be less than that. It might be 50, and he's pushing 50. He's close to that number.
So do you think
and there's more
the
miles
senior
on
tour?
that body? Yeah, the senior tour I think is 50. I could be wrong.
Do you agree that could be a good landing spot for Tiger if he still wants to play competitively, but maybe not necessarily to the rigors of an actual PGA Tour?
Yeah, because they play in Florida on flat golf courses. That body can't take the hills.
Yeah, I think
issues.
What I also think one of the other issues for Tiger is, right, what made him so great is the torque he's able to put on his body on his tee shots. Coming out of the rough and rough spots, coming out of the sand. Like, not many people have ever hit a golf ball like Tiger, and I think it's been a double-edged sword for him. Like, it's what has helped lead him to such levels of greatness in the sport, but it's also worn his body out, his knees and his lower back specifically, a lot quicker than it would the average person that can't swing like that. So do you think that's like an adjustment maybe he needs to make in his game? Maybe he needs to take a little off of it. Do you think that's something that could have an impact?
1,000% agree with your statement that the miles that man put on his body, he treated his body like an amusement park. Okay. He
not just on the course.
No, and off. That's one of the highlights of his life.
That's a different podcast, gentlemen. That's a different podcast. That's an after hours podcast.
If you ever saw him back in the 2000s when he was in his prime, he wasn't a bulky guy. Okay. His legs were bulkier. But now that once he started hurting his back, it switched. His upper body became more bulky and his legs became skinnier. If you ever saw his legs, they look like chicken legs. They're about as skinny as a twig. And that's probably why they snapped in half in a car crash, but that's besides the point. But yes, I mean, he's switched it around so it takes a little bit of pressure off his back. But at the same time, that body can't hold up.
No.
It's just a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, right, like he focuses on the majors, maybe one or two tours besides that, events that besides that. But I think he's so accustomed to swinging that club the way he does that's probably one of the biggest challenges for him as he gets older, is realizing that, you know what, instead of driving the ball 300 yards, if you drive it 230, right, like you can offset that. And his short game is really what won him the amount of tours and events that he won. Is inside of 100 yards, not many guys could do what he did. Not many guys could get the ball as close to the hole. Not many guys could putt the way he could putt. Not many guys could play out of the sand traps the way he was able to play out of them. And I think if I was his coach, like that would be my messaging to him. Like, hey, we need to take, you're trying to swing at 100% like you're 29. Let's knock that down to like 80%. And let's extend this career. Let's give you an opportunity to make it through all 4 days of the tournament.
But the difference is he doesn't want to make it through all four to come in 10th. Like, and that's why he pushes himself. He pushes himself and wants to do those same things because that's what drove him to win, 15 major championships? Like, he I don't think you could just switch that off. Sorry, I just want to say I don't think you could just say, tone it down, because that's all he's known. And that's all he knows how to do. So even though he's so great, he can't necessarily, you can't change the way you play this late in your career and expect to be just as great. So that's why, to me, I look at it like, instead of hitting a 300, if he hits a 230, but then he's still got to make up 70 yards somewhere. And again, maybe it's an extra hit. Maybe it's something else, and now those approaches to the green aren't as close as they used to be. And I don't think he could do that. I think he's still got to play his game. He's just got to get his body to a point where he can do that. And again, I think that's more likely on a senior tour than it is the PGA Tour. And he can still play the majors. He can still play the one tournament or two tournaments he likes outside of the majors. But to me, he's the only reason I'm tuning into him still. Like, I'll be honest with you, Ryan. Like, I like golf, but I like golf better when Tiger was in it. He's more entertaining. He was dominant. He was exciting and fun to watch. It didn't matter whether it was Duval or Mickelson or whoever it was. It was fun to watch.
VJ Singh, that's a nice throwback name right there for
Singh,
you.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go for it.
When you are such an egotistic maniac from birth, from your father telling you how you have to be the best golfer ever, and it's beaten into your head from 5 years old and on, it's hard to change that mindset. his golf coach is himself. So how does he tell his, as a coach, you can't tell yourself to throttle it down, and then you're on the driving range swinging as hard as you can. And playing young kids down in South Florida like he does, he can beat them 1 round. He can't beat them 4, and that just gives him, okay, if I can do it for 1 round, I can do 4 together. But he's in a golf cart.
Well, let me ask you. Let me throw one more little wrinkle out here on this. What about the Live Tour where they only play 3 instead of 4? I know he's such a staunch PGA guy because all his records are with the PGA. He's, I know, not been a fan of Live Golf and whatever, but they don't play 72 holes. They only play 54.
But they still have to walk.
Yeah, but walking 3 days is a little different than walking 4. And especially if you're only playing, once a month or once every 2 months for, 7 or 8 months.
So he'll never go to Live. He's one of the only old school PGA Tour guys left on the PGA Tour. That the PGA Tour is the only place, like him and Rory. The only place he can play is the PGA Tour in their minds. Look at Rory with all that Live sucks stuff and all that other crap. But Tiger Woods is so PGA Tour because of the history, because he's still, in his mind, he's still chasing it. In Tiger Woods' mind, he has one more major in him.
Yep.
In his mind, that's why he keeps doing this to himself. If he didn't think he could do it and he has at least one more in him, he wouldn't be doing this. Or he wants to pull the LeBron James and play with Charlie. That could be another thing.
I've never heard that. That's the first time I've heard that, but I think Charlie's still a ways away from playing in the PGA.
I agree. But that I could see him doing that, because if he's just playing 4 golf tournaments a year, okay, Charlie's a junior in high school, Charlie wins the U.S. Amateur, he gets an exemption in.
But that's a big ask, though. I mean, listen, do you really expect Charlie to be as good as his father was? Like, do you expect him to reach that level? Because I think that's such expectations to put on the kid too, that like, especially going into college, whatever, like, to get that kind of exemption, like he'd have to be number 1 in the country. And to be honest, I just haven't heard. I've heard of him playing with Charlie in the like father-son tournaments, and they're fun, and I'm sure he's really good. But is he good enough to win an exemption in? That I'm not sure of.
He's not good enough yet to win the U.S. Amateur. He's winning junior tournaments in South Florida. Now, I imagine the competition in South Florida is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, that's back when I used to golf more, when I lived in Florida. What else are you going to do? It's beautiful out.
Right.
Why not just get out?
Yeah, you're not limited like you are up here, where you got like 7 months out of the year if you're lucky.
And I'm just saying this, he won a state championship. He's winning junior events. Is he as good as his father is going to be? The answer is probably no, because no one's ever going to be his father. It's just like saying the whole thing that Kobe Bryant or that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. Dumb statement. I agree with Charles.
It is a dumb statement. Well, he's played way too long too, LeBron, in my opinion, where his stats now are getting a little, they're just piling on at this point, and they're still not where Jordan's are. So, he can't be the greatest.
Tiger has done so much for the tour. I just can't see him retiring and leaving.
Tiger is the greatest golfer I will ever have the chance to watch. I was not old enough to watch Jack Nicklaus, so I can't say how great he was. I watched Tiger's entire career. I could tell you where I was when I watched him sink that one shot to win one tournament where he came, I don't know if it was out of the bunker. Yeah. And it was almost like a Nike commercial where the ball rolled in with the Nike check mark. Like,
well, it became a Nike commercial.
But because of the actual shot, though, like that kind of stuff. Like when you saw Tiger in red on Sunday, it was something that struck fear into the people that were behind him, like, or in front of him, anywhere. Like you feared the Tiger red.
Yeah.
But either way, I hope his kid turns out great. I just don't know if they'll ever have the chance to play together. LeBron playing with his kid was totally fabricated. So
Yeah, it
it
lasted
just,
3 games.
I don't think
It lasted 3 games before they knocked him
I don't
down
think
to
Tiger's
the,
going to go that route. That's just my opinion, though.
yeah.
I agree. I could see it though, but you never know.
Yeah, I think to kind of bring this a little full circle overall, right? Like talking about Tiger and like one of the other things for Tiger, right, and why he draws so many comparisons to somebody like a Michael Jordan, right, is a couple reasons. One, the impact on the game on a global scale, right? Michael Jordan was the first global superstar in basketball. Tiger Woods became arguably the first like true global superstar in golf. Secondly, the fact that every time they step on a court or they're stepping on, up to a tee box, right? Everybody wants to see what they're going to do, and every person they're competing against also wants to see what they're going to do. They become fans without even meaning to. And then lastly, when it got to a Sunday or it got to a game 6 or a game 7 for Jordan, right? You were fearful of what that man was going to be able to do that you you can't do. That they have that special ability that is rarely ever seen, and that it struck fear into the hearts of the people they were competing against. Now, the guys they played against will never admit to the being scared, but you could see with the little mistakes and little things that they would do that you never see them do unless they were going up against the caliber of these guys. And I think that's what's made Tiger who he is. And like I said, Ryan, I don't know if you caught it before Eric decided to hit the record button. But, one of the things to me, right, like we all said, like everybody was like, Jordan shouldn't come back at 40 years old, right? And then he comes back, plays for the Wizards, has at least 1 or 2 games where he drops 40 points. He plays all 82 games. He averages 20 points coming off the bench, makes the All-Star team. Now, some people will tell you that's a nostalgia vote, not really how he played. But either way, right, like he comes back and does this. And I think, to me, that's what Tiger's thinking in his head, right? There is at least one more run in me that I can show people I can still do this. And that, to me, is why he's not going to retire. That's, to me, why he's not going to go to the senior tour, and why I think it's fair to believe that there is that chance, that right 4-day stretch where his body is just on its A game, right? And it'd probably be the last time in his life that he gets that 4-day stretch, but he'll get it. And he'll end up shocking the world, and everybody's going to talk about how he's still arguably, if not the greatest golfer of all time. And I really think that I don't know what else you can say,
I agree. I mean, let's go back to what you were saying about Sunday Red. He just built an empire, clothing company, shoes, everything like that, off of wearing. It's called Sunday Red.
Yep.
Off of wearing that. But you look at back in 2019 when Tiger won the Masters. Okay, you go to 12. They call it A-Man Corner for a reason. The 2 guys in front of him put it in the water. They hit 9 irons. You can never tell the wind when you're on 12. And Tiger hit an 8 iron in the center of the green. It's just that was the pressure. It's 150 yards. That's usually a stock yardage for a 9 iron for a professional golfer, maybe an 8 iron or whatever, but it's a stock yardage. Tiger hits 8. All the other 2 guys go in the water. Tiger wins the Masters. It's just the pressure. It's the pressure.
Yep. And nobody could handle it better, man. And that's for sure. Now, I don't know if you actually have the YouTube stream up right now, Ryan, but if you do, okay. So you just missed Erich throwing both hands up in the air. Extremely excited and happy, and ironically enough, it ties directly into that Sunday Red, but this would be more of a Saturday Crimson, where Erich is a huge Alabama Roll Tide guy. Now I know I believe you're a Penn State guy, correct?
Die hard.
We are. Yep. So they just released the new rankings for the 12-team college football bracket.
And that's not. There's no way Alabama can be in it.
They're in at number 11 as of right now, and what ESPN is saying is, barring an upset, in Saturday's ACC title game between Clemson and SMU, Alabama will be heading back to the college football playoffs.
Penn State's sitting at 5 right now, just so that you have that tidbit of info. But
The
I'm
only
not a
game,
college
apparently
football
the only
guy,
game that
Ryan.
matters is this Clemson
But
SMU game.
I think we will both be happy to let you share your thoughts on why they shouldn't be in. And I'm pretty sure Eric will probably agree with you in some aspects, because when they got that third loss a couple weeks or 2 weeks
I thought
ago,
it was going to keep him out.
Eric had him checked off. He's like, I just don't see how they make it in with 3 losses. So he is very happy and slightly surprised, if I had to guess. But I mean, your Penn State crew, I mean, they've played good pretty much all year long. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on the college football bracket as a whole, your Penn State Nittany Lions, or Alabama sneaking in. Anything you got when it comes down to the updated college football rankings?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter right now, just trying to see a bracket, but I'm assuming not much has changed.
So the front of ESPN has a bracket, actually, and Penn State right now will be lined up to play Arizona State. They have Tennessee against Ohio State, Alabama against Notre Dame,
Good
and
game.
Indiana against Georgia, with Boise State, Oregon, SMU, and Texas all getting first-round byes as winners of their conference.
So,
Or winners of their
shout out to my brother-in-law and my buddy Sammy. We legitimately have a group text, and 1, 2, maybe 3 days a week, we have an 2-hour-long argument about the college football bracket. So, because here's the reason why. According to some of my friends, Penn State has played nobody. Okay. Which they've played Ohio State and lost. They should have won. But I don't know if the committee is putting a lot of emphasis on the eye test, okay? Because if that's the case, then Penn State should have beat Ohio State. Call a spade a spade. You were first and goal on the 5-yard line and ran the ball 4 times and got stuffed. You should have scored. But I mean, Penn State, college football is turning into the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Win the games you're supposed to win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Penn State has 30 strength of schedule. Does that mean a lot to them? According to some of my friends, it doesn't mean shit. Sorry if we're not allowed to curse in this.
I think we're far enough into the YouTube
algorithm here where you could drop that.
Apparently, if you curse within the first 10 minutes, it boots us off. So I think
or it just takes you out of the algorithm of things.
And we're in a good spot. So I think you're safe. Just avoid the F-bombs and the real hardcore ones.
Okay, so Penn State being in my opinion, I'm a diehard Penn State fan. Is Penn State the number 3 ranked team in the country? My answer to that question is no. Okay. Penn State has their weaknesses, yes. Is Penn State a top 5 team in the country? Absolutely. So you sit there and you say, well, what's 2 spots? It doesn't mean anything. Penn State has their weaknesses. It's been well documented this year. They're wide receivers. Okay. We don't have very good wide receivers, and that's going to come back to bite you in the butt when you can't throw the ball downfield in the playoffs. But what Penn State has done is won the games they're supposed to. Right?
Yep.
Okay, Ohio, I'll give Ohio State. They were the better team that day. We didn't score twice from the 5-yard line, first and goal. They're a better team that day. But Penn State won all the games they were supposed to. They may not have been the prettiest, but a win's a win in major college football. Okay? Look at Texas. Okay? Who has Texas played? Texas lost to who? Ohio State? Or
no, Texas lost to Georgia, and they lost to, that's it.
Yep.
Okay, and look at Georgia.
Yeah, look at Georgia. They're doing pretty dang on good. So I don't know. They're in the college football playoffs.
But Georgia's really won some games.
Georgia, outside of this season, Georgia hadn't lost a game outside of Alabama in 45 games. So
Oh, yeah.
Georgia's other loss is to Ole Miss. So which is again, and they were ranked at the time. So Georgia absolutely, and they lost to Alabama, which of course because roll tide.
That game was nuts.
That game was awesome. But their losses to Alabama and Ole Miss, Georgia absolutely 100% deserves to be in there. You look at all the other teams they played that were ranked. Between Texas, went and beat Texas, went and beat Tennessee. They played 5 ranked teams this year. I think, and they're playing Texas now for a second time. So if they happen to beat Texas, regardless of who wins that, both those teams are in, and you can't deny the schedule they had.
I mean, Georgia,
No.
That Georgia Tech game last weekend was nuts.
And again, I was feeling bad about Bama, but I was only feeling bad about Bama because they lost 2 unranked teams. But both those teams are SEC teams. Oklahoma is a legacy team practically. Everybody knows Oklahoma, and they lost to Vanderbilt. Again, that was a letdown game after the Georgia game. So things happen in college football, but I look at Alabama as still one of the best 12 teams in the nation for sure. So I'm happy they got in. If they're the only 3-loss team to get in, that's fine. I don't mind that. Like, okay, they could still beat any one of these teams on any given day.
And I think there's a nostalgia to it too, right? Like having extending the 12-team
9
playoff,
out of 11 seasons.
like, and having Alabama be so relevant while it was only a 4-team playoff, I think there's a nostalgia level to it for Alabama. And, I think it's one of those things where, to me, I don't know enough about college football to sit here and say they don't deserve to be in or they do deserve to be in. Just from my perspective, I think a nostalgic level to it is there as well. So, but yeah, you right now your new rankings came out and you got Penn State at number 3.
I believe Alabama too. They've beaten 3 ranked top 25 teams. They have I think they're 11th in overall strength of schedule. There's reasons Alabama's there, and again I think they did right. So I know you may not feel the same way, Ryan, but I can't help but feel like, and again I have no problem with where Penn State's at either. Penn State's had a great year. They could be there too. But yeah, I just look at it as this is okay with me that Alabama's in. I'm happy about it.
It's okay with you.
if Miami didn't lose last week, and now Miami has again 2 losses, both to unranked teams. Again, you're gonna tell me you think Miami's a better team than Alabama? I'm sorry, they're not. They're just not.
No, I don't think that. I don't think Miami's better. I think that the 12 teams that they have are the 12 best teams in college football. Ole Miss at one point I thought was a scary team, but then as the season has progressed, they've looked like dog poop the last couple of weeks. I legitimately thought Ole Miss, when I saw one projection Penn State was playing Ole Miss, I was like, this isn't going to go well for Penn State. I think Ole Miss is a good team. The first 2 teams out are Ole Miss and Miami, if I'm not mistaken.
Right now it's got Miami at the 12.
Yeah, but
they're not actually in. Arizona State took
because they're going to win the Pac-12 probably, and that's why they'll get that automatic bid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what conference is Boise State in? Aren't they in the Pac-12 too?
Boise State I think is the Big 12 now.
Oh, that's right.
They moved to the Big. There's been so much reshuffling that, again, I think it's going to get to more of what you were talking about before with the college basketball playoffs, where they're going to end up expanding this again. It'll be 24 teams before you know it, and I give it 5 or 10 years, it'll get there because again, it's all money and money.
It's all about the money.
Money.
It's just about the money. That's when it's all. And at some point, I mean, if you think about it, right, the NCAA basketball tournament used to be. I mean, the tournament we watch now wasn't even the main tournament. Like back when my dad was growing up, and when my dad was a younger man, like it wasn't the NCAA tournament. That was your secondary tournament.
It was the NIT,
and
right?
the NIT was your main tournament. And then the money started flowing from the NCAA. They took it over and never looked back. Now the NIT is almost like there's schools that refuse. Like UNC a couple years ago refused to go play in the NIT. They just said, we're not going to play in a tournament this year. We weren't good enough to make the NCAA tournament, so we're just not going to play in a tournament. Like, it's almost disrespectful for a big school to go to the NIT. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they find a sweet spot with the college football playoff that they like, and then maybe they create a secondary tournament for, other schools and get away from it, something for the non-Power 5 conferences. I don't know. But it's all about the money. That's all it boils down to when it's all said and done.
Let me ask you guys this question. Indiana, okay, 110th ranked strength of schedule. Okay.
Because they're Indiana and they're not usually very good. Yes.
Correct. They play one good team. People have been saying this about Penn State as well. You lose to Ohio State. Does Indiana, at 105 ranked strength of schedule, deserve to be in the college football playoff?
If they were 10-1, no, then they wouldn't. If they were a 2-loss team, they wouldn't deserve to be in there. It's only because they're 11-1 and they play in a Power 4, division conference that.
And their only loss was at Ohio State.
Yeah, so I mean, when they were again, when you talked about before, again bringing things full circle here, I believe it was you, Ryan, who said before that you got to beat the people in front of you. You got to beat who you're supposed to beat, and
Correct.
They beat everybody they were supposed to beat. They weren't supposed to beat Ohio State. They're not gonna beat Ohio State. This is more of just like, hey, it's like a consolation prize. You're in the playoffs, but like they're gonna get whooped by Georgia. I'm sorry to say it, but
especially if they're playing at Georgia, that's not
Georgia's gonna smack face them. It's not even gonna be. It's not. It's. I'm gonna guess something of along the lines of a 38-7 ball game.
So is that the most like least entertaining game for the first round matchups?
Probably,
right? Like
because Tennessee, Ohio State. Yeah, I think it. And to be honest, Penn State should wipe the floor with the Arizona Sun Devils. I'm gonna be honest.
Imagine kids from Arizona State, okay? Arizona. Right now in Arizona, it's 75 and sunny. Bring those kids to college, Pennsylvania in the middle of December when it's 25 windy and it's 8:30 at night and there's a whiteout in the stands. Those kids are going to be so shelter shocked. They're not going to know what to do when they get hit for the first time and it feels by a Mack truck. But you can say the same thing about Ohio State, right? Because Ohio State's going to host a playoff game. Those kids from Tennessee, okay, it gets in the 40s, 30s, and 20s in there. But you come up a little bit more north.
Get that,
look at where
that lake affects snow.
Yeah, I mean, look at Notre Dame, even South Bend. It's going to be cold. So it's going to be it's awesome to see, and I think what college football has done to have a night game in December in Happy Valley, a night game in South Bend, Alabama versus Notre Dame. Like I think they've done it right. I think the teams that are in it's going to make good college football. I really think they've done a good job with it. I would love to see the blue turf in. That's all. Boise State's is awesome, but I think they've done a good job. Now, let me ask
I'm just reminiscing real quick, not to cut you off, but I'm just reminiscing about the last time Alabama played Notre Dame, and I just gave Dave the old Monte Teo.
At first, I thought his shoulder twitched the hell out. I looked at him like, what are you doing? So what were we going to ask?
Yeah, go for it. Sorry, I just had to throw that.
I said, is his girlfriend sitting there with you guys?
Yes, she's chilling. She's chilling right now. Don't tell Amanda and don't tell Eric's wife.
I believe the wife just got home too. Shout out to Janice.
But so here's the thing. So let's talk about Ohio State, Michigan, if you guys don't mind for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, this past Ryan Day. He's the same boat as James Franklin. Do James Franklin and Ryan Day deserve to be fired? Yes or no? For being one in the century versus Ohio State, Michigan.
See, I think that's an unfair question because I think for Ryan Day, you have to say yes. Like he's not that good. I'm sorry. He's okay. He'll get you to the playoffs. Like he could coach the team, but like to me, he's not a national championship winning coach.
Okay, who?
I think
Okay.
Franklin though. I like Franklin, so I have a difference of opinion. I know they haven't beaten who would you say, Ohio State or Michigan very much, but at the same time, you know, it's a tough to be out. To be honest, outside of the SEC, the Big Ten's the toughest division, toughest conference out there, in my opinion.
And when in college football did winning 10 to 11, 12 games in a season be grounds for being fired? I hate Ohio State with a passion. I'm sticking up for Ryan Day.
0-5 against Michigan in their last 5, right, though?
Yes.
That's why. When you lose that much, to be honest, it would happen at Bama. If Kalen DeBoer came in and he was only had 1 loss this year, but that loss was to Auburn, and then he continued to lose to Auburn for the next 5 years, I'm sorry, like, he's getting fired. And it's because he can't beat Auburn. If you can't beat Auburn, then you're not going to be coaching Alabama very long. Like, it's just the thing. Like, you got to win those rivalries sometimes. And to be honest, Ohio State losing the big game that many times in a row isn't something that they're accustomed to, and not something that people are just going to sit idly by and just keep letting happen, regardless of if he's winning games, because again, there's how many different cupcakes on the schedule too. So again, you got to win the games you're supposed to win. He wins those games, but games that he needs to win, he doesn't always come up big in. And I think that's the difference. So to me, I just have a different opinion on Franklin. I like Franklin. If they wanted to get rid of him, I would hope that, you know, I think he would get picked up in a heartbeat. I don't know if Day gets picked up as fast.
I will stick up for Day and for Franklin just because if you fire either one of them, right, think of it this way. If Ryan Day leaves Ohio State, you just paid $20 million in NIL contracts last year. Every one of those kids transfers out. You set your program back a minimum of 5 years in the NIL era of college football.
He could be doing that though if they keep him there and they lose to Tennessee this week. How many recruits are going to transfer out? How many recruits are going to go? Okay, well, clearly we're now a 2-loss team. Blah blah blah. How many of them might transfer anyway? The transfer portal to me is ruining college football in a way because there's no commitment. It's not like signing a contract or even a deal where you're like, okay, I'm going to be with this team for 3 years or 4 years or 2 years or whatever. No, it's year by year that these kids can switch and be on a team like that, depending on where the NIL money goes and whatever. Like, I think the NIL is killing it, like in a way that it's just not, it's not creating what they expected it to create. In my opinion, certain people are just getting way too much of it. And again, there's so much focus on, like I said, part of the reason Nick Saban retired was because he couldn't have an exit interview with anybody anymore. Because all they want to know is how much playing time are they going to get next year and how much NIL money are they getting. That's it. There was no coaching. There was no talking about what they need to do in the offseason. There was no talking about team stuff or anything. It was how much am I getting paid and how much playing time are you giving me? If you're unhappy with either, those players hit the portal. And that's just that's ruining it, in my opinion.
In my opinion, I think the NFL is going to step in with the NIL at some point because you have people like the kid from Colorado, not Sanders' kid, the other kid.
Hunter.
He's making making $5 million or something like that this year. Why does he have to go to the NFL? Right?
He doesn't have to, but at the same time, he's going to.
Well, yeah, that's the next step, but why rush it?
But why rush it? The NFL is going to step in, and there's going to be a salary cap at some point.
Yeah, but if you're Hunter, you're going in the first round. You're guaranteed pretty good money anyway, better than what your NIL money was going to be.
No, but I get what Ryan's trying to say. Like, Ryan's trying to say that, like, at some point, the NFL is going to influence college football to put a cap on how much players can earn through the NIL. Like, right, Ryan, is that what you're saying?
Yes, because the NIL was meant to give these kids, okay, you know what, your jerseys, these college universities are making millions off these kids, right? You know, Penn State makes millions because of the TV deal they signed with NBC. It's the kids. It's not Penn State. It's the kids that are making, you know, that are making Penn State relevant. I just think that the NFL and there's people are going to start stepping in when they're like, these 18-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids should not be being paid $5 million a year.
Can I ask you one question? Why would the NFL care what these kids are getting paid? Because all the NFL cares about is money, 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 money. Like, so they don't. Why would they care if a kid's making $5 at Colorado?
Because they want to make money off them.
But they're going to make money off of them once they go to the NFL, and then that's when they make.
The faster they get to the NFL, the faster they make.
In college,
money
though, there's already a rule. You have to be in college at least 3 years. So there's already that rule. Like, you can't come out of college and go to the NFL after being after your freshman or sophomore year.
No,
you
but
have to wait till after.
But it's a lot easier for a kid to get redshirted as a freshman and then stay in college for 4 full years. So now it's 5 years. Now he's not like, think about like specifically like the running back position.
Well, I'm going to say
right?
specifically,
like, I mean that the beating their bodies are taking.
But they're not
college.
getting the big NIL money. They're getting little NIL money. The guys getting the big NIL money are guys that are in Heisman Trophy talks and guys that are quarterbacks for the most part. Like, you're not seeing running backs unless you're the number one recruit in the country coming out getting anything near even $1 million as a freshman or a sophomore. Money will go up as you play and get good, but they're not just going to flat out throw you that before you, like, you know what I mean? Like, I get Bryce Young years ago before he even threw a pass for Alabama had 800,000, but again, he was a quarterback and a highly rated quarterback for that. So I don't know. I just look at it as I don't think the NFL cares much about what college football is spending. I just think they care more about making sure that talent gets to them healthy or the healthiest they can in a way.
I think that's really the underlying like side that supports what Ryan's saying is like get there earlier so you're healthy, and if you're gonna get hurt with us, not in college.
Yeah, but you can't. But the thing is, you can't get them there any earlier, though. That's my part. Is like you're 3.
Oh yeah, you've got your 3 years.
You can't get there earlier. There's not. It's unfortunately not like the NBA or even hockey. I think where you can get in younger. It's not that way, and even baseball. Kids get drafted out of high school in baseball. It's just not that way. The NFL, you need time for these kids to mature and grow. They're not ready to bang into the mature men at.
Well, I'll say this, and Ryan, not to cut you short here, but one thing you may have missed by not being part of shows in the past is that by the time we hit 8:00, Dave starts getting to reach his hangry level. And so I want to keep this thing moving. And since we're talking college football, you being a Penn State fan, I'm not going to eat while we're recording the show, but I appreciate you. But you being a Penn State fan, college football fan, and then going into the NFL, since we've kind of scratched the surface there, I have to ask you, how much warmth do you feel in your heart watching Saquon Barkley do what he's been doing for the Eagles this season, especially over this
I just gave you crackers and you're going to shat up my face like that?
What's it, a nine game win streak the Eagles are on now, or a 7-game win streak? It's one of the two.
7, I think. 7 or 8.
So, like, how much warmth does it bring to your heart? What do you think it's doing for the team? And I've never hidden this feeling, and you know, if you disagree, I wouldn't be surprised, but I really genuinely don't think Jalen Hurts is that good of a quarterback, and Saquon Barkley is the MVP of this team. So just your 2 cents, how much that win against Baltimore meant, because the wins before that really, to me, were cakewalks, and they should have won every single one of those games. But that win against Baltimore was a huge win for them, and I really think it's got to mean something to you special to be able to have a Penn State alumni also be playing for your favorite football team and doing what he's doing for them.
I just bought my 5-year-old a Saquon jersey because he enjoys watching Barkley. He
I'm
calls him
calling
Barkley.
child services on you.
I think it's what the Eagles needed. Okay. They have such a good offensive line.
Yep.
I mean, you got Otta, who's a monster, 300 pounds. You have one of the greatest left tackles or right tackles in Lane Johnson, and then Cam Jordan has taken over, was tutored under Kelsey for the last 3 years. I think it's as much as it's Barkley. You got to look at that offensive line and say, hey, you know what? It's as much them as it is Barkley. Don't get me wrong. Some of those runs, Barkley stretches out because he's just Saquon. But I think, to answer your question, I love watching Saquon do it. But I think without that offensive line, and Saquon showed that in New York,
Yep.
it's you have to have the offensive line in order for a running back to be very, very successful, it's yes, we all know, but at the same time, you have to.
Well,
it's the reason they call it the
Ryan,
ultimate team game.
Let me give you a little history here, because Dave is just taking a big old steaming dump on my face with this one. He knew what he was doing. I'm a Giant fan. He knows how much I despise the Giants letting Saquon go to the Eagles, or letting Saquon go at all, because they should have signed him and not signed Daniel Jones. So hang on one second, because we're going to start this way.
Fuck the Eagles.
So we're going to start right there, and then I'm going to say, hey, Dave, weren't you the person that when I sat here and I told you Jason Kelsey didn't matter that much, and when you guys are trying to tell me Jason Kelsey's the greatest lineman of all time, and how bad the Eagles were going to hurt this year because they didn't have the great Jason Kelsey there, well, yet somehow now the offensive line is getting praise. I
never knocked the rest of the offensive line.
Without the great Jason Kelsey, without the amazing Jason Kelsey, this offensive line can still block for a guy like Saquon. Oh my God. You take the L on this one, because you flat out said their offensive line would not be as good without Jason Kelsey.
I 100% said that. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I 100% said that.
I'm sure Ryan didn't hear when you said that, but he badmouthed
Ryan, I'll own it.
Your offensive line, Ryan.
I did think they were going to take a decline. And if we're being honest, the first couple weeks, they really didn't look that good.
No team looks good the first couple weeks. We've discussed this. Preseason is garbage.
That good,
teams don't play anymore.
I mean, they have really found their stride. And honestly, when you put Jalen Hurts and give him the opportunity to really only have to play action and not have to do too much, and it all boils down to what Saquon's doing for that team, though. And that offensive line is a huge reason for it. But
they have a two-headed monster in the backfield, and they have lots of weapons on the outside. They are a really good offensive team. Like I told everybody before the season started, I thought this would be the best offense in the NFC, or them and the Lions. Would be those two battling it back and forth.
And that defense has really turned it up the last
Saquon
5 or 6
weeks. Saquon made a big difference on that team. He made a huge, huge difference, and I am still bitter the Giants don't have him. I hope Wellington Mara has sleepless nights every night thinking about this, because
he said he would.
He said he would, and I can imagine that him, like most Giants fans, are sitting there now going, why? Like, why did I let this guy do this? And Ryan, you got a hell of a player, and I think the Eagles are one of the better teams in the NFC East, and I hate saying it, or the NFC, and I hate saying that because my New York team is on the opposite end, where we're looking at the first overall pick possibly.
So let's talk about that Saquon situation for a minute. Somebody has to get fired for that.
Oh, I'm sure. I get the feeling several people are going to get fired.
It should be Shane, but it's probably going to be Dable, and then they'll let Shane bring in another head coach probably, because it's hard to fire the head coach and the GM every 2 years for a decade and expect to be a winning program. That's how the Browns got to be where they are, and how the Jacksonville and all these terrible teams got to be where they are, is because they constantly change over. You have to have some consistency. And yeah, I hope they don't do that, but at the same time, some heads got to roll, because to me, this move was all on Shane. If you watched Hard Knocks, this was Shane. This was Shane's move that he made. You heard the conversation between him and Mara. Mara said, "Don't let me regret this," and right now we're all regretting it. So I think Shane should be fired, but there's no chance you're going to fire a GM without firing the coach too, because whatever GM you bring in usually wants to bring in their own coach. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be both of them gone at the end of this year.
So I'm not a huge conspiracy theory guy, but I was reading one the other day that says the Giants tank next year because they want to have another Manning
I want it.
quarterback.
I'm telling you. I don't want to tank. What I want to do is I want to take our first-round draft pick this year. It has nothing to do with tanking. As I said, I don't want to tank. I want my teams to win every week. Every week I'm watching them. I'm not watching the Giants to lose. They're playing New Orleans this week. New Orleans sucks too. I want to beat New Orleans, regardless if it costs us a couple draft spots. But if we're in the top 5 of the draft, to be honest, outside of Travis Hunter, that's the only guy I want in the top 5 of this draft. So if the Giants can have the first overall pick or a second overall pick and trade back to, say, 4 or 5 or whoever might need a quarterback that wants to come up and you still have a shot to get Hunter, I would take that. I would move back, stock load that pick for next year. And then this way, next year, at least you would have 2 first-round picks where if you had to move up in the draft to get Arch Manning, then you do that. And you would have the draft picks and the capital to be able to do that. Arch Manning, to me, is another guy like I talked about Sanders before. He's been around the game. He's been coached by not just one uncle who's amazing, not just 2 uncles who are Hall of Famers, but a grandfather who's also, I believe, I believe he may be a Hall of Famer as well. So, I mean, you look at it, he's got generations of people around him showing him the right way to do things. He's been nothing but a great teammate at Texas. He makes $3.5 million to ride the pine and be Quinn Ewer's biggest, cheerleader. Yeah. And he does it great.
Well, I do got to shout out my boy News. He's out there. He thinks both Dable and Shane should be fired. So I want to shout him out, and I appreciate him listening.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for hopping on, News. And I'll say this. I think the biggest issue the Giants have had is a lack of consistency at the GM and head coaching spot, right?
Ever since Coughlin left.
And it's a hard sell, though, to the fan base to say, hey, after 3 seasons, made the playoffs in our first season, and then the last 2 seasons, we've basically have finished where we're getting a top 5, no worse than a top 7 draft pick, right? I think they drafted 6 yet last year.
Something like that.
Yeah, so, it's a hard sell to have that happen, and then your following year, now you're looking at the number 1, possibly number 2 draft pick if they squeeze out a win somewhere where I really don't see where that's going to happen on their schedule that's remaining. So I get that, but I think overall that I agree. I think they should have kept Saquon, but either way, that offensive line, you've seen them. They weren't going to be able to do for Saquon what Philly's offensive line's doing for Saquon, or what about 15 other offensive lines out there?
No, but the Giants' offensive line hasn't been bad this year. Andrew Thomas has been good. People have been good.
They had the injuries hit them too at the left tackle.
So, they're not a bad offensive line. Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback, and we only have other bad quarterbacks on the roster. As I told you preseason, the Giants were the worst quarterback room in the entire NFL. They're not a good offensive team, but it's mainly because they don't have a good leader.
I mean, at this point, the Jets would probably like to throw their hat in the ring because Rodgers hasn't done much. Ryan, you've been give us your last thoughts on this, and then I'm going to pivot us to our last part of the show. So, what you got for us?
I was going to say, so if the Giants had old crab claws, Jameis Winston, would he throw for 500 yards with the weapons that the New York Giants have?
Yes, because Malik Neighbors is the real deal. I don't think they've utilized Theo Johnson very well at all. I don't think Wan'Dale Robinson, and
he's a decent slot wide receiver.
He's
not
decent, but he's more of a gimmicky guy. But they have enough weapons on offense to make it work. Tracy has been great as a rookie. So yeah, I think that with Jameis Winston, this team probably could have won 3 games, maybe more. Again, I still don't think it turns them into a playoff team. But
no,
I think they could have been a better team with somebody like a Jameis Winston or a Gardner Minshew, or any one of those type of guys, the Fitzmagic type of guy that you could bring in, get some wins off of. But he's not a long-term guy.
All right, so now I got to put this out there. I'm telling you. Go ahead, Brian, my bad.
No, I'm just saying I'm a huge crab claw guy. Love Jameis. I've loved him since he was in Florida State. Huge crab claw guy. It was just me and my friends argue about that, so I want to get your guys.
His interviews are untouchable.
Oh yeah,
he is Hall of Fame for interviews.
Not even that, just on the field too.
But I gotta put this out there, and look, I'm telling you, I know we could probably go 20 minutes on this just alone. But Noose John actually joined into our chat, and he read about this morning. He doesn't think he's not really a fan of it, but he read something where there is a chance of Belichick, Devontae Adams, and Rodgers all ending up with the G-Men next year.
I sent that to you like a week ago.
Did you?
I could have. But either way, I've seen that, and hell no. If you're giving me one of them, give me Belichick. But I'm not touching Rodgers. I'm sorry. He's got nothing left in the tank. He could say he does. He could blame everybody else, but it's him. He doesn't have life in those legs left. And Devontae Adams, I'd take him too, but again, at what cost? So it would depend. But no, I couldn't take all three. No.
Rodgers should just retire, in my opinion.
I need to go back into that hole that he was in for months. Complete darkness and stay there for a little while.
Take whatever that drug was, and he can just stay there for as long as the rest of his life lasts. So, Ryan, so the last thing that we do to end our shows, right, we make some picks for the upcoming football week. But what we do is instead of like just saying, straight up, I'm going to take Philly to beat Carolina, right? Instead, we do it based off of the gambling. And I don't think you're a big sports gambler, but I do believe that you dabble with it every now and then. Am I right on that?
Problem. That's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I was, you're on a recording. I was trying to protect you here, but you do you.
He knows.
So there's not many games that really, really stick out to me that are overly worth conversation this week. There's not really a lot of great matchups. But for once in a blue moon, we actually have a really good Thursday night game with Green Bay going to Detroit. You've got the 11-1 Detroit Lions against the 9-3 Green Bay Packers. Last time, I believe last time they played each other, Detroit won pretty comfortably. If I'm correct, I could be wrong on that, but I believe they won pretty comfortably in Green Bay. But either way, what we're looking at here is they won 24-14 in Green Bay. So that, a 10-point win, but that's still a game in the NFL. So with this game though, we have Detroit only giving 3 points and an over under of 51.5. So Ryan, since you're our not only our first time guest, but a guest that we're very happy to have on here with us, and I'm sure Fife would have loved to join him when we were talking Penn State. So we got a buddy named Erich Fife, we call him Fife, and he's a diehard Penn State fan too. So he definitely would have loved to have been part of you, and he always joins or listens into us. So I'm sure he's going to text me and Eric at some point and be like, I really like that Ryan guy. He should be on the show more often. But so Detroit given 3, over under 51.5. What are you taking, Ryan?
So my heart tells me over 51.5. Lions defense is hurt. They've had a lot of injuries over the last couple of weeks. They've lost Hutchinson. They just lost that linebacker. Packers are coming on. I would say over 51.5. I think we're actually going to see some points on a Thursday night.
Hey, last time we had a good division rivalry on a Thursday night was that Baltimore-Cincinnati game, and they put up a combined, 71 points. So, I wouldn't be surprised.
Although I will say, both teams like to run the ball. So the Lions like to run it, the Packers like to run it. So that may cut down the amount of possessions. It's the only thing I'm going to throw out there.
And you could see a Thursday night game end before 11:30.
Maybe, but if you do, it's going to be an under. And that's the only thing that if this was like 48, 49, I might think about the over, but I think it's just a little too high for a division game. Especially with the last time they played, they only scored 38 points combined. You'd be asking for more than 2 touchdowns more.
And they played in Green Bay earlier in the year, so it wasn't like it was snowing or 10 degrees outside.
Exactly. So for that reason, I think I got to go under. I know that the defensive limitations are there for with injuries and whatnot, but just the way these teams like to run the ball, I don't think that it's going to be. I think it's going to be a time of possession thing. I think they're both going to want time of possession. You want to keep that Lions offense off the field, and the Lions are going to want to do the best they can to keep Jordan Love and Jacobs and those guys off the field. So. I'm going to go under, but to be honest with you, I kind of still like Detroit giving the 3. I still think Detroit is the better overall team. Not that Green Bay is not good. They are, and they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. I just think the Lions are pushing for something special. I think they want that.
They want that 1 seed, and the Eagles are nipping at their heels.
Exactly.
The Eagles are not far back.
The 1 seed matters. Like, to be honest, like that's the one thing that keeps some of these teams fighting longer. Now is being that the 1 seed gets a bye. That's big. Having that week off. And like you said, Eagles nipping on their heels. They're not going to want to lose. So give me Detroit minus the 3, but give me the under of the 51.5.
So Ryan, you took the over, but are you taking Detroit giving the 3, or are you going to take Green Bay getting the 3?
I'll lay the 3.
All right, so I'm with Ryan on both. Actually, I'm going to take the over and Detroit.
So we're all similar on Detroit giving the 3.
Yeah,
it's just I'm the only guy with the over.
Yeah, so that should be a really good game. I think another game that should be entertaining, even though they haven't played really well of late, is Atlanta traveling to Minnesota. You got Minnesota laying 5.5 with the over under of 45.5. So, Eric, I'm gonna let you take this one first, and Ryan will go to you, and then I'll wrap this one up, and then I'll take first on our next game.
Kirk Cousins to me is a guy who's unfortunately on the decline right now. Something's up. Like he doesn't seem quite right. Hasn't looked quite right now. Granted, I know that it was Denver they played right this past week. They got beat by Denver the week before, the Chargers. Either way, Kirk Cousins
4 picks he threw, and they were home.
You look at it, 17 TDs to 13 interceptions, not having the year that they thought they would have with Cousins when they signed him. They thought bringing him in with Drake London, Bijan Robinson, like they thought, oh man, we're going to have an offense now. We got a quarterback, even though they drafted
How bad
Penix.
is it that you didn't say Kyle Pitts? How bad? What a waste of a
Got me
freaking
0
kid's
fantasy
career.
points
What
this
a
week.
waste
By
of
the
the
way,
kid's early part of his career.
In the game where we started the show with me talking about me saying sorry to Joey, that was one of my things to Joey. Joey, Kyle Pitts scored me 0 points. How can I win this week? I have a guy who scored 0 points. It made it so much worse. I'm sorry, Joey.
What were you saying, Ryan?
All you have to, the guy had 2 targets. He's 6'9". All you have to do is throw the ball in the air.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he's got like a 36, 38-inch vertical, too. Like, just throw him a jump ball.
He loved throwing to Jefferson, so I don't know why he wouldn't like throwing. Yeah. Again, it's just a weird thing going on there. I'm not sure what's happening with Atlanta, but the Vikings are only a game behind Minnesota, or a game behind the Detroit Lions.
They're only a game ahead of Green Bay. That NFC North,
NFC North is crazy, and to be honest, you'd rather probably be the Vikings, because if you're the Vikings, you're going to get like Seattle in the first round. Like, you're going to get a team that's not that, like, you're not going to get, So to me, they have more to fight for. They're at home. They're 5-1 at home. Give me Minnesota laying the 5.5, but I think both these teams can score, so I'm going to take the over of 45.5.
Ryan, what do you think?
So, I think both teams have fraud for quarterbacks. So, I don't think Sam Darnold's the real deal. He's just lucky because he has really good wide receivers and a good tight end
and a good offensive coordinator / head coach.
Yes, that 5.5 scares me. The over under. I mean,
45.5. Yeah.
Well, sorry, I'm looking at Yahoo. It might be less than. It might be what I forget what it is.
Oh yeah, we're on ESPN. So we're using
ESPN.
ESPN. So yeah, ESPN's got Minnesota given 5.5 and over under 44 or 45.5.
All right, so I'll probably take Minnesota because I trust Sam Darnold a little bit more than Kirk Cousins. But knowing my luck, I'm going to do that, and Kirk Cousins is going to have his rebound game of the year.
Well, listen, it is 1 o'clock Kirk Cousins, not prime time. So you got a better chance of 1 o'clock Kirk Cousins showing up and lighting it up.
Very true. Very true.
Very, very true. I'll do under 45.
Okay. All right, so you're taking Minnesota given the 5.5, but you're going to take the under.
Yep.
All right, I'm taking Atlanta getting the 5.5, and I'm taking the over because I think Atlanta also has a rebound game in them, but I think Minnesota actually wins. I just think they only win by a field goal. So that explains that. There was one more game if you want to go up real quick, just because of the division race, that Seattle-Arizona game.
I thought that's where you were going.
That outside of that, when it comes down to the afternoon games, I really don't see anything else that really grabs my attention. So that Seattle-Arizona game, Seattle at Arizona. Arizona coming off of a rough loss, just offensively really struggled across the board. Seattle coming off of a comeback win on the road in MetLife Stadium against the floundering Jets. You got Arizona given 2.5 and an over-under of 44.5. So I said I would go first on this one. I'm gonna take Seattle getting the 2.5, and I'm going to take the under. That's the route I'm going. Division rivalry. I think it's a tight game. I think it's more of a bruise 'em, beat 'em up type of game. And neither one has a quarterback that I think is as good as the quarterbacks we talked about on Thursday night. So when all teams interested in running the ball, I'm going to take the under in this one, and I'm going to take Seattle getting the 2.5 points. That's where I'm going. Ryan, we'll pass it to you for this one.
I hate Kyler Murray. I don't think he's very good. I don't know how he's still in the NFL. I would take Arizona, or I'm going to take Seattle getting 2.5, and I'll take the under.
All right, Ryan sides with me. Eric, you gonna be the Lone Ranger?
I think this division
you
is
getting on the
screwy
bandwagon
this year. I think it's a screwy division. This could be one of those years where the winner of this division is like 9-8 or 8-9 even. Like it's not going to be
trending in that direction.
It really is, especially when you look at the 49ers now with McCaffrey out again. They don't look like they're going to rebound at this point. Even though I was thinking last week, I was saying they're about to take off. I think they sputtered out. But going back to this game, Cardinals, Seahawks, at home, I like the Cardinals a little better. And I actually think both teams are going to score, weirdly enough. Like, I think this is going to be a weird, awkward game. Give me Arizona minus 2.5 to this way. I think that evens them up at 7-6. They'll be 7-6. Who's the other team in that division? The Rams?
Yep.
Is it the Rams?
And they're 6-6.
The Rams are 6-6. Playing the Bills this week, so they're probably going to go to 6-7. Let's be honest. Give me Arizona minus 2.5. Give me the over of 44.5.
Gonna take the over.
And if this was 1985, this would be the matchup of the week. By the way, not this game, but this next game. I don't know. You see that 425 game?
Yeah.
That would be a 1985 all-time classic to have the Bears at the 49ers.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that would be the game of the week.
Montana, Rice, you'd have
Walter Payton,
Payton. Yeah, Payton played. Yeah. Payton was on the 85 Bears. Still to this day, people say he's pissed off that they gave it to Refrigerator Perry for the 1-yard touchdown run when they won the Super Bowl. So, yeah.
Not that I want to pick this game. I just saw it, and I'm like, man, is that 1985 or what?
Yeah, that's it. You know it's an off season for the Niners when Juwan Jennings is their leading wide receiver. So, I mean, that just lets you know the type of year San Fran's had with injuries. Found out, and thoughts and prayers go out to him, found out the reason Trent Williams missed the last 2 games.
This is brutal.
Thoughts and prayers to him. His wife gave birth to their baby, and it was born stillborn. So it was actually personal reasons. So thoughts and prayers to him. That's just rough, man. But
there's son Trenton.
Yeah, like that sucks. And if anything, if he's playing this week, I think San Fran comes out with a vengeance, and I just don't think Caleb Williams is the real deal. So, that's my thoughts when it comes down to this game in general.
I'm going to be interested to see how Caleb Williams does with the coach being fired. He's got too much talent.
He's going to do like every other quarterback does who gets fired like this, though. It's terrible for the quarterback. It can't help them to have multiple head coaches, multiple offensive coordinators in their very first season in the league. And this is things that have shot other quarterbacks in the foot, too. Like, you can't do this constantly. The Jets got in trouble with this with Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold went somewhere else and is now having success. Baker Mayfield went somewhere else having success. But I just don't think Caleb Williams is ever going to find success with the Bears. They've never, ever been able to develop a quarterback, and you're sure as hell not going to develop one if he has to have multiple coaches and multiple offensive coordinators. And I guarantee you this isn't the next time in the next 4 years the Bears are going to go through this again.
Well, I go back to the text that I think it was you that sent us. Oh, right.
Yep.
So, drafted 2017, was that Rex?
No, that was Trubisky.
Trubisky. Head coach fired 2017. Justin Fields drafted 2021. Head coach fired 2021. Then they draft Caleb Williams in 2024. Fire head coach in 2024. So, Eric and me are not big Caleb Williams fans. We really don't think he has the all pro Hall of Fame caliber skills that you want to see out of the quarterback you take number one overall and trade what you traded to get that quarterback. But with that said, it's more of a Bears problem to me than anything else, and it's another kid whose career they have the potential of ruining. And yeah, it just you just feel bad when guys go to places that just don't know what the hell they're doing.
And to transition us from feeling bad about one thing to Dave feeling bad about another, I'm just going to bring up one more game this week because you're not going to dump on me and my Giants and not let me dump a little bit on your Cowboys. So I want to know what chance...
Before we get to that Cowboys game, I'm going to go out on a limb. Good Sunday night game, right? Chargers, hot. Chiefs, meh. Chiefs get bailed out on a Patty Mahomes bailout. That Chiefs win that game on a Patty Mahomes bailout call by the referees. And I'll watch the game on mute because I can't stand listening to Chris Collinsworth talk about Patrick Mahomes.
You are not alone, sir.
No, he S's that D pretty hard.
Yes,
really
he
does.
definitely S's that D. See, that would get us kicked off of the YouTube no matter how far into this game show we're in. So I'm glad, I'm glad you did it that way. I'm glad you did that way. And really quick before you do dump on my Cowboys, because
no, we're going to talk about this game. He wants to talk about Chargers Chiefs. I think we're going to get a bold prediction here from Ryan.
No, he just gave you his bold prediction that the Chiefs are going to get bailed out.
Patrick Mahomes gets the referees bailout. Patrick
but that's every week. That's every week. The Chiefs get. That's their unofficial, 12th man on the field. Like Seattle's got the 12th man in the stands. They got the 12th man on the field wearing the stripes. That's those are honorary Kansas City people. You didn't know that? That's normal. I actually think that you were going to go bolder. I thought you were going to call a Chargers win here because I think that would be pretty bold. And I think that would be a statement win for Harbaugh. I know he just beat his brother in the Harbaugh Bowl, but at the same time, I think this would be a bigger statement. But Chiefs 6-0 at home. I don't know. I got to go with the Chiefs, but I wanted somebody to be bold enough to take the Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers.
You'll take them, you'll take the 3.5?
I'll take them on the money line. That's how confident I am.
Well, listen, I'm going Chiefs. I'll go Chiefs even given the 3.5, but I'm going over of the 42.5. I don't know what you guys
see. I would take the Chiefs to win, but I would take the Chargers based off of spread. I think it's a field goal game. That's what I would say.
I think the Chargers are on the up and up. I think Herbert is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he's good. He doesn't have the weapons around him because what's his face, Quentin Johnson or whatever, not catch COVID the other day. But I think the Chargers are hitting their a little bit of a stride right now. I do. Mm-hmm. I think the Chiefs magic is running out. I think that offensive line for the Chiefs is not very good.
I'd agree with you.
You have Bosa, you have Mack, who obviously is not in his prime anymore, but still good. I think Patrick Mahomes is running for his life.
Sounds about normal like you said. You've made two statements that sound like a week-to-week experience for the Chiefs. Mahomes running for his life and them being saved by the refs. So
yes, the bailout.
Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on with this one. But I will take the Chiefs to win. But I do think the Chargers. I would take the Chargers when it comes down to getting the 3.5.
All right,
I'll take the minor if I have to take the points. Give me the points. But I think that, and I think that over 43, I'll take 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see the over. I could definitely see the over. You'll have some random breakout plays for both teams that are going to happen. But when McConkey is your number one wide receiver, that you're in trouble as the Chargers. And it's not like the kid's bad, but he should not be your number one wide receiver.
He's a rookie, right?
He's the new Punk.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're trying to do with him, and they're doing a great job with it. But if you're 10 times better off when you got somebody on the outside that puts some fear in his safeties, safety's heart so that they're not just playing in the box, and then your little Wes Welker slot wide receiver doesn't mean as much when you got 8 in the box. So it'll be a good division game overall. What I don't think will be a good football game, but should have plenty of big plays and stupid moments, is that Monday nighter with Cincinnati going to Dallas. One of the craziest things is, and honestly, I think the best thing you can do for Bennett, Ryan, is that let him watch this game. I think on Nickelodeon it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
They're doing a simulcast of the game, but instead of just like the SpongeBob stuff where like, ooze comes out when a touchdown scored, they're doing like an animated version of the game.
To Simpson style.
Simpson style, that's what it is. So yeah, so there's like Simpson style version of the game that's going to be airing. I don't know
Where
exactly
it'll be like
how
Bart versus Homer, I think, is something like that.
like I don't know
Bart
exactly
versus
how they're
Homer.
going to execute it, but I'm sure Bennett would be entertained, and I'm pretty sure it'd be a great way for you to find more reasons than they've already given you to be able to laugh at the Cowboys this season. So,
And if there's no Manning cast or anything else to watch, then
why not? And then you don't have to listen to Troy. And I mean, I'll listen just because Troy actually likes to he actually talks shit about the Cowboys, and I love it because it's like nothing better than an ex-player who Jerry Jones loves talking bad about the Cowboys, because as I have said for a very long time, I hate Jerry Jones. But yeah, I mean, Cincinnati's getting 5. Or sorry, Cincinnati's giving 5, even though they're on the road, and you got an over-under of 49.5. I would take Cincinnati giving the 5, and I would take the under.
I will take Cincinnati giving 5. Both bad defenses, right? Dallas not very good on defense. Bengals, look at how many points they're giving up each week. They're losing like 30-something to 30-something every week.
Yeah, I saw a stat today that the Bengals offense needs to average 33.5 points a game moving forward if they want to have a chance to win, because their defense is giving up like 31.5.
Can you imagine in the NFL, you're scoring 30 points in the NFL per game, and you have 8 losses?
No. If I was a fan, I'd be fuming. But if I had any of their offensive players on fantasy, I'd be quite happy, which I do.
Right.
So I've enjoyed some of it.
I mean, 49, I don't trust the Dallas offense. I'm going to go under the 49.
Okay, so you're with me. So you're taking under, and you're taking Cincy giving the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that spread's going to change. I think that's going to be bet on a lot, both of those.
See, I'm going the other way.
Really?
I'm going Dallas. Give me the 5 at home. I know they haven't played well at home, but to be honest, the Bengals season just went out the window with the last loss. So they're not fighting for playoffs anymore. They're not looking to make a run. If anything, I think they take their foot off the gas a little bit, and they've already done that on defense, as we've seen. So knowing they give up so many points,
their defense never even
got
the Cowboys.
I think the Cowboys can keep it close enough. So I'll take the 5, and I'll take the over, because the one thing is both these teams can score. I don't think Dallas necessarily is a terrible offense. Like, they're clearly not as good without Dak, but I think they're not terrible either at home. And the Bengals offense we know can score. So, like I said, I'm taking Dallas getting the 5, and I'm taking the over. I think that the Bengals win the game, but I just think it's closer than you guys do.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, Ryan, it's been great having you on, man. You've literally been with us since basically the start of this. So, Ryan, really appreciate you hopping on. And you may not be aware, but also filling in for our boy Joey, who one more time got to shout Joey out. Wish he was in studio with us. But
by the way, Ryan, if you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, follow,
share, Ryan,
share it out.
Sound
do
like
all those things.
I know you got a lot of friends out there that love talking sports, and we'll take anybody in. And then we got the interactive chat on the YouTube page where they can hop on YouTube and we can start having some debates, people going at each other. As long as people stay civil, right? Nobody's attacking each other.
But again, that's why we talk sports, though.
Yeah,
It's
no
'cause
talking
of-
about mamas, none of that nonsense. Just,
Or
you call somebody,
politics,
you call
any of
somebody an idiot if you want to, but no foul language. Like, have some fun arguments. So, make sure to like, subscribe, share. We appreciate it. We were amped because we got to 30
yeah.
30 on our YouTube page. So we're trying to get to 100 on our Facebook page.
Trying to get
then
to
we
50 on YouTube now. So that's the next goal, is
Yeah.
trying to hit 50. So again, if you could like, subscribe, share, do any of those things for us, it would be awesome and it would help us out.
Yeah, and 100 means we can live stream
Stream
on
on-
Facebook too. So,
we're trying to hit 100
just
followers
another
on
way,
there.
another thing there. But either way, man, really appreciate you hopping on. I know it's probably past Bennett's bedtime, but if it's not, please make sure you tell him I said hi and that he got heard on a podcast and on YouTube. People know him now, and that Dave's going to report you for child abuse by buying him an Eagles jersey, because that's just wrong. You shouldn't do that to the kid. But no, Ryan, really appreciate you hopping on. Anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say before we let you go, my man?
No, guys, appreciate it, man. Anytime you want to, even if you need a celebrity for 5 minutes, just give me a call.
Will do. I just got
Talking
one more
sports.
thing to say real quick.
Fuck the Eagles.
All right, Ryan, my man.
Thanks, Ryan.
We appreciate you hopping on, my man. You have a good night, all right?
You too. See you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Later.
All right, and that was your buddy Ryan.
Yeah.
So thanks to him for joining.
I mean, if he wasn't an Eagles fan, he'd be a great guy.
And to be
like,
honest,
seriously, if he wasn't an Eagles fan, he'd be a great guy.
And there's just two things I want to hit with you real quick. One, does anybody give a damn that the NBA Cup's going on?
Nobody freaking cares.
Because
And
that's
the players talking about that they care, they don't care. They want the money. They don't care about the cup. They just want the money.
I find it interesting, though. The only thing I found interesting was apparently what they did with this as well is like how many points you beat a team by matters.
That's like a tiebreaker.
That's like the tiebreaker. So now tonight, in order for the Knicks to advance, even though they've won so many games, they have to beat Orlando, because otherwise, if they lose to Orlando, they lose that tiebreaker, because they've won all the games they've won close. So I think that's a bit, if it's a tiebreaker,
you gotta
it's a
have some
tiebreaker.
kind
Knicks
of
are up
tiebreak.
20 right now.
Yeah.
At the half. So
Look, I
mean-
think some of these players do really care. Some of these teams really do care. But I think for the Knicks specifically, Tom Thibodeau don't like losing to anybody. Tom Thibodeau is a psychopath. Winning is all that matters to that man, and he will do everything possible, including running his players directly into the ground to win.
Towns 14-10 already.
And I'm telling you, that is why the Knicks are going into halftime up 20 points, because Tibbs knows what that spread is. And these guys do pay attention to it, and good for them. But as a fan, I just have zero interest in it. I enjoy watching a basketball game. I actually think some of the courts look pretty freaking cool. But outside of that, I really don't have much interest in it. And I don't pay attention to basketball until after the All-Star break. Because to me, that's when real basketball starts. That's when the matchups really start meaning something. That's when you see a little bit less of the, hey, we're gonna sit our superstar out this game. That's when you see that type of stuff. So the All-Star break to me is when the real NBA season starts, and kind of goes to what we talked about with the NFL, right? Like the NFL really doesn't matter, it matters, but until after week 3, week 4, you're really not seeing your best of it. So, yeah, the NBA Cup, not really something that I've paid much attention to or really
what
cared
else?
to.
Just though, really, if you think about it, though, and I bet you it's subconsciously there for you in a way. You know why you wait or like after the All-Star break, you pick up more on basketball?
Why?
Because that's right when football ends.
That
And
is
by the
true.
way, football is about to get their wish, and we've talked about this, joked about it for years and years, ever since we were on SportsZone, about how the day after the Super Bowl should be a holiday because everybody's out for the Super Bowl, and then you got to get up the next morning for work, and it's the most called out day of the year, this or that, and the other thing. They're inching closer and closer, and they're going to get there within the next couple of years, guaranteed. The Super Bowl is going to be on President's Weekend. And because it's already a national holiday, they have that Monday off.
Yeah, I don't get
To play
President's
that?
Day off, so that means absolutely nothing to me.
To most people, though,
Yeah,
like, I get
that-
President's Day off.
That is great for most people. I don't.
But
so
I'm just saying,
it means
but,
absolutely nothing.
but I
to
know
me.
retail people don't, other people don't, but like they could, but it would fall actually on a holiday, and a lot of people would get that day off already. It's gonna come in the NFL. But to me, that's why I feel like you switch your brain, because it's okay. Football's done now. I tune into basketball. Now, and probably the NHL at that point, because what are the Devils doing?
Oh, I've been watching it because the Devils have been hot. Just beat the Rangers
the
last
crap out
night,
of the Rangers
5-1. That was a
5-1.
good time. That was enjoyable. I pay a lot more attention to hockey earlier in the year, but it's
Still casual.
it's because they fill those weekdays, and like a hockey game's over at 9:30, right? Like, so even like on a Thursday night, like this Thursday, yes, I would watch the Packers Lions game over a Devils game, right? Like that I would do. But like last week's Thursday night game, if the Devils were playing, which they weren't, but if the Devils were playing, I would have watched the Devils game over the football game, and I would not have switched to the football game after the Devils game. So, but look, I know you wanted to get to this one, and honestly, if I wait too much longer, I'm going to start hitting things with bats. So
I want to hit it quick because again, they've sped up the at bats. We can speed this portion up a little bit, but we got to talk about it because it just broke today. And this will be the last thing we probably talk about today, but or it will be. But they're thinking about a golden at-bat rule in baseball, meaning that once a game, at any point in the game, you could bring up whatever hitter you want for that one time. And to me, I'm still torn over it. I'm still thinking about it. It's something we can wait till next week because I know Joey will probably have an interest in it. But on first shock, I'm like, man, that would totally influence certain games because, like, I heard somebody else talk about it. They gave the example of, well, what if Ohtani came up and you were able to strike Ohtani out, but then they just send Ohtani back up again? Like, how lucky are you going to be to now? You've just shown him all your pitches. You've shown him everything. Like, how hard is his second at bat going to be to get Ohtani out? Guy who's already so, like, so good. Or, if you have Judge who just came up and crushed one to center field, and now you bring Judge up again, and he's just going to crush another one because he's on this guy, it could definitely make a difference in some games. I just need more time to digest. I need to hear a little bit more about the rule. If you can bat a guy back to back, if you could do certain things, will it be something that you can only implement after the seventh inning or before the seventh inning? However, there's got to be a little bit more fine tuning. I hope this is something that they try to work out in the minors before they bring it to the majors.
Which is what they did with the pitch clock, right?
Yeah, and I like this idea much better. Like, I hate Manfred's rule of the guy on second base now in extra innings. Like, I hate that. And because they don't do it in the playoffs. It's only in the regular season. And to me, that's stupid. So I hope that if they do this, they do it the right way. Games evolve, games change. So to me, I don't look at it as, oh my God, they're killing the sanctity of the sport. I know some guys' averages or whatever, or home runs may, stats may boost because of it. Because if you think about it, if 100 games out of the year, the Yankees can run up Aaron Judge for a second at bat or an extra at bat,
where he gets 5 or 6 in a game based off of how.
Well, I'm just saying, but just think about it. If he gets one at bat extra game for 100 games, he hit 58 home runs this year.
Yeah.
You telling me he wouldn't have got 4 or 5 more in those extra 100 games?
Yeah.
He could have got 10 or 12 more.
Chance of hitting that 70 mark again.
You're setting new records. So then you have to think about the records being broken. But again, games need to evolve. Games need to change. And I still need to hear more about this. So I just wanted to throw it out there because it was news that broke today. So I wanted to kind of get on top of it. You got any thoughts about it? I know you're much more casual on your baseball watching experience. Would this be something, though, that would get you to tune in if you could watch a guy like Judge or Ohtani or somebody else, like one of the big guys, Soto in the sport, come up and have that other extra at bat? Like, would it create intrigue to you?
It's funny because when I first heard about this, like I saw reactions where a lot of people were very much like, are you kidding me? This is stupid. You're ruining, like you said, the sanctity of the game, what makes the game. But then, like, also listening to you, right? Like, games have to evolve. You have to, like, if you do the same thing over and over and over and over again, at some point, it dies out. People get tired of it, right? Like, it's just how it is. So, in that aspect, yes, maybe it throws a nice little spice into the game. To come with a full-blown die-on-this-hill opinion, I'm with you. I would want to know more about exactly how it would be implemented, how exactly it would work. You know, like for an example, right? Like in the NL where you have a DH, are you now allowed, like, would they say in the end, like, do you replace the DH and say, hey, now we have, like, now our best player, we're going to have be our DH and bat their spot in the lineup? Right? Like, are you extending the DH to both leagues? Do you do it that way? Do you just do it where,
it is in both leagues now.
Oh, right. Sorry, my bad. But, like, or, like, is it like, hey, like, we've got our 1 through 9, right? But, like, if it's the bottom of the 9th inning with 2 outs and our 7th batter is up and we want to put our number 3 up, our 7th isn't running up there. We're bringing our number 3 up there for a chance to extend the game or maybe win the game, whatever it might be, right?
That's
like
the point behind it.
Yeah, so like knowing exactly how they would implement it would help me develop a die on this hill opinion. All I will simply say is that the initial thought of it, I'm not actually a fan of it. And I say that because of the team game aspect, not the sanctity of the game, but the team aspect of it, right? Because baseball is the only game where you could do something like that, right? In hockey or basketball or football, right, your guys need to step away. They need to get a break. They need to breathe. They need to drink some water. They need to do these things. So, like, you can't just sit there and just say, hey, you know, I'm going to run my best wide receiver, like, I'm going to run him every single route of the entire game, all game long, and never give him a breather. The guy has to come out and get a breather at some point, right? Like, or your best pass rusher. Like, NFL teams would kill to be able to keep their best pass rusher on the field for every single snap of a game, right? Like, NBA teams would kill to have their best player on the court for all 48 minutes for all 82 games, right?
Well, if you're Tom Thibodeau, that's what you do.
Well, that's true. But so you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the one part about it I don't like. It's the only team sport where you can say, hey, we have this individual that we can use multiple times. And there's something about that I'm not a fan of. But if you were going to say to me, hey, like, this is only something you can do after, like, in extra innings, right? Once you get past the 9th inning, now you have this golden bat rule, right? Like, if it was something like that, or once we're in the playoffs, you can only do it in the 9th inning, like, then I probably would maybe have a little bit of a different opinion. But overall, there's something about it that rubs me the wrong way when it comes down to say, hey, we've got this team sport that goes up against the other team sports in our country. Yet this is the only team sport where we can say, hey, we're going to go get our best player out there a second time and not have to wait for them to get their chance to get out there again. So that's the only thing I have that makes me not really a fan of it. But again, more information.
I think that's what we need. We need some more information. Yeah. We need to know how it's going to get implemented. When is it something you could do in the 1st inning or the 9th inning? Is it going to be something more in, like you said, crunch time? So we'll have to wait and see. And to be honest, bring us kind of full circle here. It's definitely something that, you know, when you talk about a team, one of our team members is missing today that I'm sure would have an opinion on this.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
Mr. Joey D. So I know he's going to have an opinion on this. So I say we wait, get a little bit more information, and I would love to revisit this maybe next week when we get together again. And then this way we can kind of get Joey's opinion on this, because I'd like to hear what he's thinking, what he's heard about it. And in another week or so, I'm sure we'll have a lot more information. But shout out to Joey,
who you can follow on Instagram
at Joey Doth.
The Doth stands for Die on This Hill.
47.
47. Oh, I almost forgot the number. Damn.
So Joey Doth 47
and
on Instagram.
Doth, Die on This
You
Hill.
can follow our buddy Louie, who was in and out of the studios you saw tonight. You can follow him on Instagram at Louie Aussie Dude. He's a pretty cool follow. Other than that, Dave, why don't you tell people where they can find you? And we'll get out of here.
So you can follow me on that Instagram at dhastings23, and you can find me on Twitter, also known as X, on David Hastings23. But most importantly, like, follow, and share the show. That's what matters the most.
Please, we're trying to grow. Trying to get to 50 subscribers on YouTube, trying to get over 100 followers on Facebook so we can start live streaming on Facebook as well. Please help us reach those goals. And you can follow me at The Living Legend on X, or you can follow us at Die on This Hill. on YouTube and on Facebook. So please, you're at the right page when you see that cute little pup's face. And until next week, Dave, what do we like to say?
Don't be afraid to have an opinion and die on this hill, baby.
Now dance it out with us.